Hey there. So today I interview Brett Curry, who's the founder of OMG Commerce. His agency has run ads for some of the biggest direct-to-consumer brands on the planet, including Native Deodorant, which was sold to Procter & Gamble for $100 million cash. We talk about what it's like managing ads for a $300 billion company, his experience building an agency over the past 21 years, and even what it's like to do all of this with 8 kids. All right, thanks, Brett. So what I want to know is a little more about, your current business, because I don't remember how exactly we met originally, but I know we've touched base at Ezra's event. You've spoken at our event in the past. You've worked with a lot of really cool brands through your agency. What's like the, 20-second overview of what your agency does?
Yeah, great question. I do think we met through Ezra first. I think he's the one that made the intro, and then we connected at Blue Ribbon, and I've spoken at SellerCon, which has been awesome. So we're a performance marketing agency, and we primarily help D2C brands grow through Google and YouTube and that ecosystem, retention marketing like email and SMS, and then Amazon. So in the Walmart marketplace, but mostly Amazon. We're full service on the Amazon side, and so we really exist to help accelerate growth for great brands. So take a good brand, we want to help pour fuel on the fire, so to speak, of growth.
Yeah, so I was just kind of poking around on your website, and so these are all brands you're public about. I'm sure there's other brands that maybe you
Yeah.
can't or don't want to talk about, which is totally fine. But there's, you've worked with Boom, which is Ezra's businesses that he, exited at least partially. And then I saw Native on there and a handful of other ones. And then Groove Rings, which, we both know Peter, massive business that a lot of people probably don't even realize. Do you still work with Native after post acquisition?
Still work with Native, yeah. So first connected with Moise Ali, the founder, super smart guy.
Yeah.
He has since moved on, sold to P&G. So we were kind of there during the transition, which for other agency friends that are listening, those the transition of ownership or the transition of the marketing team. A lot of agencies don't survive that. We've definitely ended up on the cutting room floor, so to speak, whenever there's that transition. But we were able to win over the folks at P&G, and so I think we're like 3.5 years strong of working directly with P&G, and that's been super fun because we manage all the Google, all the YouTube. We partner with folks like Raindrop, who they do some of their creative work. Helped we were with Native when it was just deodorant, and then they added toothpaste, and they added hair care, and now sun care, and they're adding more. And so it's been really fun to see that evolve. And then we've also worked on strategies for direct to consumer sales. So of course sales on their Shopify store, but also using Google and YouTube to drive in store sales. And one of the big pushes when they first got into Target, and they're like, hey, the sell through is going to be important. So we're going to ramp up exposure in these markets to try to get more folks into Target. And so that's been fun, kind of doing the pushing brick and mortar, but also, of course, growing online sales as
Yeah, I
well.
actually buy their products at CVS because I'm like,
Yeah,
I'm so like last minute with sometimes. I'll be literally out of deodorant and I'm like, I just need to go to CVS. So I'll go get their stuff. So just
exactly.
so anybody who doesn't know, Native sold for from what the articles say, $100 million basically cash to Procter and
Yeah,
Gamble.
yeah.
Pretty insane, which is why I was kind of curious about that.
After just a handful of years,
Yeah.
and I don't remember what the team was like when we first started. The team size was like when we first started working with Native, but I think when Moise first inked the deal, he had like 8 people on the team or 10 people on the team. Just insane,
Crazy.
insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
What has been the biggest difference going from kind of businesses that I'm familiar with? You've got somebody that's knows the online marketing, they've put together a good product, they built the sales funnels, they've done all that kind of stuff. So I'm kind of more familiar with like what an agency would be like working with that kind of business, but then immediately transitioning over into like now you're working for this kind of massive company that owns this brand. Like, what's been the biggest difference there?
Yeah, the speed of change has definitely been different. In the early days, we could talk to Moise or talk to kind of his assistant and just get decisions made. Like, hey, we want to do this, we want to test this. Great, to do it. And now it's not like super slow or anything. It's just there are sometimes layers that you gotta work through, and and then also the amount of reports needed. And I think sometimes, when you're talking about a bigger corporate structure,
Hmm.
you're giving reports to one layer, one group, and they're just so they can make it easy for them to pass it up 2 or 3 layers or whatever. Where when it was Moyes, we're just talking to Moyes, and we have a dialogue about something, and then we go. So
Yeah.
those have all been different. We had to kind of tone down some of the ads
Mm.
because P&G owns other not natural deodorant brands, and so some
Yeah.
of
So
those
you can't say
brands
your
did not
deodorant
want
sucks,
you.
and they also own that brand.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
mean, we still obviously still lean into the natural ingredients and stuff. We just had to kind of tone that down, which is
How
fine.
how have
Yeah.
the budgets changed, if at all?
Yeah. So budgets have changed for sure because, what's interesting about P&G is P&G understands brand marketing. They understand the value of brand. They understand the value of awareness and impression advertising,
Yeah.
knowing that if you can increase the amount of brand recall and the number of people that know about your brand, it's going to pay off.
Hmm.
Now, I think that's only practically true if you've got pretty big budgets and you got huge distribution, right? So
Yeah.
so once Native got to kind of where they are now, where they're in all Targets, all CVS, all Walgreens, like everywhere, all Walmart, um, and they're online, like now you can, and you got big budgets, now you can invest in awareness stuff. I think it's like still true sort of for a smaller business, but like you're probably gonna go broke trying to make sense of what's working or what's not.
So
So
how
they've
how do they
definitely invested in awareness. Yeah.
how do they kind of met like how much leeway do they give you to push that? Are they kind of like, here's the budget, and it's like, we want this number of impressions, or this is what looks good to us, but you got to keep the frequency within some range? Like, how do they kind of view that?
Yeah, so if it's awareness push, sometimes it is kind of reach and frequency based, and sometimes it's geographically based as well. We want to push in these markets for these reasons. Then for other times, it's like, hey, we got this extra budget for this product line for online, and we're just looking at blended customer acquisition costs, and that's really what they care about. If the budget is for online, then they're looking at kind of that blended CAC number, blended CPA number, and then it's kind of per product line, so to speak. And I think that's kind of smart too. They kind of have different team members that are in charge of this product line. So right, so this person, you're responsible for growing sun care,
Hmm.
and so OMG is the agency behind all of it, but there's like to use an Amazon term, like single threaded leader or whatever, like that, they're in charge of this product line, and so they're very motivated to get sales up for that product line, and so we support that. So then sometimes they get more budget for one product or another, that type of thing.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, so I'm kind of curious. We've had a lot of people that have been through our program that have, maybe they built their e-commerce businesses, maybe they kind of, shifted gears a little bit. And at some point, we've had some that have built their own agencies. So I'm very curious to hear your take on, building, running agencies. That's something I've never really got to talk with many people about because most people don't do it. And I feel like we've dabbled in that just a tiny bit, but it's like we've always been like, this takes a special person and we're not that special person. And so for
Yeah.
you, like why did you build an agency to begin with? Like what was that path like?
Yeah, it's so great. And not everybody's cut out for the agency world, right? I kind of feel, I think some people feel the same way about like hospitality as an example, right? Like who would ever want to own a hotel or like work in a hotel? Sounds awful.
Yeah.
But some people love that, right? Some people are just kind of geared to make that work. I've always loved great brands. I've always loved kind of the story behind brands and the story behind great products. I've got creativity in certain ways. I can see connections. I can kind of form strategies and stuff. But I'm not really good at like inventing things or coming up with a brand new brand idea. And so I think from that perspective, like running an agency has always been a good fit for me. And then I like client work. I like working with people. I can handle the messy side of people, and you see the good, the bad, and the ugly. Definitely with client work. It's much more professional and much more like intimate and close, but it's almost like, are you fit to work in retail where you're talking to customers all the time? Or do you want to be behind the scenes and not talking to people? Just want
Yeah.
to talk to your team. I like people, and I like working with brand owners and stuff. I don't actually work that much with brand owners now. I'm mostly working with my team, but
Mhm.
select larger clients also get plugged in and involved and stuff. So I've enjoyed the process, and I've enjoyed kind of teaching, training, helping my team become really good at client care and really good at strategy and really good at reporting and just kind of all those things that are important to a brand, what they want from an agency. So I love it. I love the agency life. I can see
What'd you do
myself doing
before?
this for a long time. So
What'd you do before the agency?
yeah, so I actually worked in media. So I was in radio sales in college. Got a marketing degree. It's actually like poli sci, and then got a job at a radio station. I always loved ads. Got a job at a radio station. I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. And so I switched my major. Got a degree in marketing, and started like a small agency right out of college. Like broke. I was already married. But I had connections in the business world, and so I started running people's like TV and radio and print, like local car dealerships, local restaurants, stuff like that. Built a little business there, learned online marketing, and then kind of took off from there.
And around what year was that?
So I started the agency in 2002. So I'm a bit of an old school guy as far as that goes, and then was working with this printing company, and they sold like business cards online, right? Business cards and brochures. And they were paying me to do some marketing. And then they were like, hey, do you know SEO? This was like 2004.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, no, I don't know SEO, but it sounds awesome. So like, hey, we'll pay you to learn it. So I learned SEO, and I was able to, using some questionable tactics, mostly stuff that doesn't work now. It's mostly above board. It wasn't anything like too nefarious. But I got them to page 1 for the search term brochures. And when that happened, I was ecstatic. I was like telling my friends about SEO. I learned they didn't care. They were like, this sounds wicked boring. But to me, it was like the most exciting thing in the world. And so that kind of started my path on search engine marketing. And then, because I've always done TV and video too, then like once I figured out YouTube, it was like the marrying of all my worlds, like a little bit of SEO and keyword based stuff plus video. So it all kind of lined up.
That's pretty crazy. You've been doing basically agency work since straight out of college since 2002.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I like it. Ezra's asked me that before too. He's like, dude, why not build why are you doing an agency thing? Of course, now Ezra launched an agency. Actually, Molly Pittman did. But yeah, I think you got to have like a certain mentality, certain demeanor. But to me, it's fun. I love the challenge.
I mean, there's been agencies that have been built into massive businesses. Like to me, it's just like it's very
Totally.
people intensive. You got to deal with clients,
It is.
more employees, all that kind of stuff. But
Yeah,
as long as you're able to cross those hurdles, I mean, look at like some of the biggest kind of consulting companies. They're kind of essentially agency. They provide like strategic advice and stuff, but these are like
Deloitte,
multi-billion-dollar companies.
Yeah. And I think it's one of those things where the grass is always kind of greener, right? So if you're a product business, you're like, oh, look at the margins of an agency, or an agency is like, oh my gosh, look at my employee cost. Like if I just sold a product, but there are pros and cons to each. And it's hard to scale an agency super quickly because it is so labor intensive. So, our margins are decent, but employee costs are huge, right? Because it just takes people. So, but yeah, it fits my personality. So I enjoy it.
Yeah, and I was kind of looking at your website. I mean, like, if I took the little grid and multiplied and stuff, like your website shows like 56 people on there, but my guess is you probably got more than that. But how many employees do you have
We
now?
do. Yeah. So in terms of true employees, I think we're like 55 or something like that. And then we do have some freelancers that work really closely with us. They have some other things going on, but we still consider them, part of our team, kind of a core part of our team. And then we just kind of did an acqui-hire of a 13-person team in the Philippines, and they work exclusively with us. They're not on the website yet. They just help with kind of like technical behind the scenes stuff for Amazon. So we've always been US based with like an occasional international freelancer, but now we got the Filipino team. So I think total we're up to like 73 on the team. Well, and also I guess we have 3 Canadian team members as well. So
yeah. And how do you manage all of them? Do you use any of like the off the shelf, traction, all that kind of stuff, or you kind of just like made up your own way to manage all those people?
Yeah, it's been a little bit of a combination. We do like EOS and the model that's in, or the operating system that's outlined in Traction. We've modified that. We've learned a lot from other agencies. We we partnered with a pretty large development agency and kind of in the early days of OMG, learned a lot from them, learned a lot from Traction. I also really like the book Scale Up by Vern Harnish. Some really good stuff there as well. And then, I think a couple of keys for us. I'm also a big Jim Collins fan. Getting the right people on the bus and looking at the turning the flywheel. And so we got really good at hiring. We got really good at the hiring process of finding out what someone would likely be good for, and would they be a good culture fit. And then once we've got them to choose OMG, then really training them to be superstars.
Are most of
And a
your
lot of
people
that.
W-2?
What's that?
Are most of your people W-2?
Most of them are W-2. Yeah. So like 52 or 55, whatever that number is, are W-2. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And then how many do you do, like one-on-ones, or is yours at this point, you've been doing this 20 years, it's not that formal, or is that like
Yeah.
part of your process? You've got certain people that you directly manage, you do one-on-ones, or is it kind of ad hoc?
So mostly at this point, we've got a COO. Her name is Sarah, and she's fantastic with process, with keeping the culture, with working with directors, mapping out complex things to keep the business running. And so I'm mostly working directly with her. I am meeting with all the department directors and influencing and training. And I'm a big leadership guy, so I did some leadership training. And then I still like a strategist at heart. I just love marketing strategy, so I'm always pushing us on, hey, what's new, what's next, where do we need to be thinking, what are we missing, what do we need to be testing, training on, things like that. And then I still work with some of the larger clients, but a lot of the day to day, we have department directors, we have a COO, and so I'm helping higher level at this point.
Yeah. And would you recommend an agency as a business for somebody to start? Like say like the people that we talk to the most, like they built an e-commerce business, or they've learned how to like sell on Amazon or sell on Shopify or something or other, and they've got an idea of like, hey, I think I can do part of this thing for other people. Would you recommend it as a business?
I recommend that. I think if you have like this inkling of it sounds fun, then I think you should do it. If you have this thought that like, ooh, extra dollars, and that's like the only motivation, but you're kind of thinking, yeah, I don't really like to talk to people. And if someone, bugs me over the weekend, or they text me late at night a question about their ad account, it's going to destroy my happiness. Then you shouldn't do it. So if it's just a money play, don't do it. If it's like it could be kind of fun, I think we could execute on this and do it. In fact, I was talking to some buddies who run a business that I've done some consulting for a long time, and they reached out and they're like, hey, I know you do email. Like, would you be offended if we started an email agency? And I'm like, dude, no, just like go for it. This sounds awesome if you really want to do it. And what I told them was, hey, you should start with one service, be really, really great at that service, and then see, if you want to grow from there and add there. Because what we did, the mistake we made in the beginning of our agency is we tried to do everything: website design. We would print your postcards for you. I knew TV and radio. It's like, we'll buy your TV and radio. And then we're like, this is never going to scale. So we just went search marketing, that only, got really great at that, scaled with that. And then we started adding pieces. So I think that's the way to do it. Like, if you think you like an agency life, focus on one thing, become really, really great, and then expand from there.
Yeah. So that's one thing, is like focusing on just like one thing when you first get started. Like, I'm sure you've seen other people over 20 years now, 20 plus years. Like, what do you think are some of the biggest mistakes people make? I mean, trying to do too many things, I guess, is, maybe top of the list, but like, what else do you think people that could have done well with an agency, but they mess up a few pieces and all of a sudden it all goes to hell and they quit and they move on, or just never kind of goes anywhere?
Yeah, so I do think trying to do too many services can be an issue. However, if you don't have a clear idea up front of what you want to do, you may need to experiment a little bit. But usually, I think if someone's like got the agency bug, they probably know it, but it's related to this one thing. It's Facebook ads, it's email, it's CRO, which we need more CRO agencies out there. By the way, we would love to buy a CRO agency. There aren't that many great ones out there. So for conversion rate optimization. So then I think one of the other mistakes is just not getting really clear on who you can serve and who you should serve, right? So we kind of did the same thing. We served anybody that would pay us, right? That was our ideal client profile, was anybody who would pay their bills. And that then shifted to e-commerce, because
Yeah.
we felt like, man, that there we can deliver the most benefit there. We got great visibility into what's working and what's not. So we're in bigger budgets. So we're going all e-com. But I think that's another where we can be really clear on here's what we're going to offer, here's who we're going to serve, and then here's why we're different or why we're unique. So what is that? What is that offering? How are you going to stand out there? And I think for a lot of people, they don't really have that unique identifier there, that USP, unique selling proposition. For us, it's been, we know Google and we know YouTube, and we know it for D2C better than anybody, we believe. And then we're like full channel management on Amazon, and we think like business owners, right? So yeah, I think those are some of the mistakes for sure. And then I think some people, they want to get in the agency life, but then they maybe don't know how to build a team, or they don't know how to build an agency team. That's a little different than building like a D2C team. So you got to also like know, do you like the idea of agency because you want to be a consultant, or do you like the idea of agency because you want to build a team? Because those paths are quite different.
And then what is kind of like a good bottom line margin for an agency?
Yeah, I mean, I know some agencies that have mostly overseas teams that are in like the 35 to 40 points, right? Which is just like blow your mind
Like
type
net
of stuff.
margin.
Yeah, I don't know how to do. I mean, we're in the Midwest, so our overhead is pretty low, and for the most part, local employees, their cost of living is lower, so it's not the same salary structure as on the coasts. But I think if you're in the 15 to 20%, like net income, you're doing pretty darn good.
Like
And that's kind of where we
you've
shoot.
paid yourself salary and all that.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, we're talking like EBITDA, and I would look at that, before ad backs and stuff. Like we would like to be in that high teens to 20 is what we like to shoot for.
Okay. Yeah, that's probably similar to like a established e-commerce business. We run LifeBoost super lean because we're just like pushing on the gas pedal as hard as we
Just
can without
growth
losing
rate.
money.
Yeah.
So we're like, low kind of single digits, but as the business kind of matures,
Right.
same kind of thing, 15 to 20%, I think is kind of what you're looking for, what you eventually should be able to get to.
Yeah. And that's where you're like, hey, regardless of what you want to do you want to bring on investors? Do you want to sell? Do you just want to keep it? Like any of those paths, if you're in kind of that 15 to 20%, like you've got options. I think in some ways, we were looking at this agency to buy, because we're kind of in that mode of like, hey, let's look at, if we're going to increase our capacity and capabilities, let's just buy some agencies. And there was an agency that was at like 45% margins. We're like, hey, that's like too high. That's a red flag for us. And as we dug in, it's just because they have no capacity for growth, and they really didn't even have enough team members to take care of their existing clients. So it's like that margin's not going to persist. So we need to beef up the infrastructure. So probably that 45 is going to go to 25, like that, and then we can maybe scale from there. So
have you acquired an agency yet? Because seems like an important thing for you. I mean, that you kind of are focused on.
Yeah, it's funny. Like we've been on this journey now, talking to agencies, like learning M&A, and so we've had kind of two small aqua hires is more what I would call it, and they've been successful so far. But we're actively kind of looking right now, and we've got one deal that's about to be in an LOI status of an agency we're looking to acquire. So
and you mentioned like CRO, but is there something else that you're kind of
like something else we're looking? We really want to get into add some more like social capabilities and stuff like that, because that's not something we do. And so we're looking at some other things related to that. But CRO is on the radar for sure. We don't have. We're not too far down that path yet.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so like chat a little bit about SellerCon, but first I gotta ask. I feel like I always just so curious. Like, how many kids do you have?
Yeah, so this is the thing where people this is how I'm known. But my wife and I have 8 kids, so count them 8. And no, we're not Amish. We're not like the first online marketing Amish family. Not Catholic. We are faith-based people, but we wanted a big family. But we didn't. But 8 was never like in the discussions. We just overachieved on that, and so
not Mormon, right?
Not Mormon. No. I got lots of friends.
In my head, I feel like
yeah.
I started to doubt it, but I feel like for the first time I met you until maybe like 6 months, a year ago, I thought you were Mormon the whole time. 'Cause that's the only way it makes sense.
Yeah, actually, I did some work with Russell Brunson, back in
Yeah.
the day, and he's Mormon. So all my Mormon friends love me. They're like, you're one of
Like
us. You're
living
one
the
of
dream.
Exactly, yeah. But two oldest do not live at home. My oldest son is in sales. He moved to Florida, and then my oldest daughter, she's away at college, and so only six live at home right now. Yeah,
I don't know how you do it. You always seem so chill and peaceful and positive, and like, we got
yeah.
a puppy, and I feel like I was gonna lose my mind. Like, we don't have kids, puppy, they're just kind of
Yeah,
disrupting your whole life. It's like, I don't know how you do it. It's crazy.
there's chaos under the surface. It's mostly because my wife is a super mom. She's amazing,
Mhm.
but I like kids, man. I like people. I like kids. So it's been a good fit for us. But yes, it is insanity for sure.
How
Our
do you
grocery
kind
bills
of
are insane. Yeah.
your what? Oh, grocery bills. Yeah, I bet. How
Yeah.
do you kind of manage your sort of work around? Because I mean, are you at home right now, or are you at an office?
No, I'm not at home. I'm at the office. Yeah. So I mean, even like during the lockdowns and stuff, I'm like, dude, I'm getting into the office. This is
Yeah, so
this
you
is
got to work in
nuts.
an
So
office with all that going
yeah,
on.
yeah. There's another guy in the office. Same. He's got small kids, and he and I were in the office basically every day. So yeah, I'm in the office most days. Got a pretty good routine. I'm a morning person. I get up early, I work out. Kind of get into the groove. Because my team is built out, I'm not working like insane hours. I'm thinking about the business all the time. So how many hours I actually put in, I don't know. But I'm trying to have dinner essentially every night with my family, and unless I'm traveling, which I do a decent amount for work. But yeah, prioritize and execute, to use a Jocko Willink phrase, and then just having a good team at the office and good team at home. And my wife's amazing. 6 of those 8 kids are girls, and our oldest girls are like super helpful most of the time. And so we got kind of a buddy system at home, which helps with the bigs and the littles. And so
Yeah,
yeah,
that's crazy.
systems.
So last kind of thing we want to chat about is that you're going to be speaking at SellerCon, which is our
Yeah,
upcoming event for e-commerce people building businesses, growing businesses, Amazon, Shopify, because we kind of see this as more of an omni-channel approach to building these businesses now, which is in the past we would have been 100% Amazon, and then there's kind of some downsides to that, goods and positives and negatives, but now it almost makes sense to from the beginning to be thinking kind of multi-channel when you're building this business. So that's what SellerCon's all about. You're going to be speaking there, which we're super excited about. So what are you going to be talking about?
yeah, dude, I'm thrilled. It's going to be a ton of fun, and I think that the trend in SellerCon is like the trend in e-commerce right now,
Yeah,
right? This idea of one channel or one customer acquisition mode is that's risky. Even
yeah,
if it is Amazon, like it's still risky. And so we're finding a lot of our bigger brands, they're trying to go in store and their own Shopify store, BigCommerce or whatever, and marketplace. And so I'm going to be breaking down like how we're using Google and YouTube to grow both your D2C presence, but also grow on Amazon. And so the D2C side is going to be super fun. I'll spend quite a bit of time there. But also, this is a piece that a lot of people are missing who are Amazon sellers, using Google to grow on Amazon. And what a lot of people don't know is that Google is still Amazon's number one source of traffic.
mm.
And Amazon is the number one advertiser on Google. So nobody spends more money on PPC on Google than Amazon. And so I'll kind of break down some strategies. We've got some clients that are spending 6 figures a month on Google ads directed to their Amazon listings, which is super interesting. And so
In addition to sending to Shopify, or instead of sending to
in both, so in addition, so the one client I'm thinking of right now, they're doing both, but
yeah,
they're bigger on Amazon than they are on Google.
okay,
But yeah, they're spending over $100,000 a month sending Google PPC to their Amazon listings, their storefront and their individual product detail pages.
yeah, that's super interesting. I feel like I want to ask you more stuff about this, but that's what the point of SellerCon is.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I don't know if we're still doing. We were spending like $5,000 a month on Google ads, like going
Yeah,
straight to Amazon, and then all the rest was going to Shopify, and that was like
yeah.
supposedly to help with ranking, et cetera, et cetera. But we've never spent 6 figures a month just sending people straight to Amazon, which is pretty insane.
Yeah, it is, and so I think you have to have like there's a couple different strategies or approaches, and I'll break them down at the conference for why you'd want to do one or the other. But yeah, I mean, I think we're seeing D2C only brands file for bankruptcy or getting close to filing for bankruptcy. And so I think it's just one of those things where like you need to be diversified. So if you're all Amazon, you need to build that Shopify store and get some sales there. You need, if you're just those two, you need to look at probably brick and mortar. And so anyway, so I'll break down how to use Google, how to use YouTube to really accelerate growth for your brand and create stable, profitable growth.
Yeah, cool. And then for everyone, you're going to be throwing in a bonus for people. Can you talk a little bit about that? These are people that get a ticket for in-person attendance of SellerCon, and we're kind of telling people the way you get it is you either pick up your badge, or if you book a link, book a hotel room using the booking link. Which by the time you've done that, we know you're going to show up.
Yeah,
either one of those. If you want to get it faster, you can get it that way, or you just show up, pick up your badge. That'll trigger our thing also. But what bonus are you throwing in for people?
Yeah, and one quick plug on just in-person events. So, we partnered with Ezra Firestone for a long time. I mentioned that we used to partner with Russell Brunson. I met both of them just at events. Like I met him at events and struck up a conversation, and we hit it off and ended up doing projects together or whatever. So I'm a huge believer in the power of events, the networking, the learning, like the focus time to be there. So it's worth it to be there. The price of SellerCon is just stupid cheap, which is great. And then the bonus. So the bonus that we're throwing in, Performance Max. It's a new Google campaign type. It's very polarizing right now. I'm seeing people in e-commerce forums that hate it. I've heard it called Performance Meh instead of Performance Max. I know some people that love it. We've spent to date kind of between 5 and 6 million just on that campaign type, kind of in the last, 6 to 12 months, something like that. We've seen mostly positive results. It is the number one campaign type for a lot of our scaling brands. So some brands are spending, 4 or 5 or 600,000 a month on Google Ads. Performance Max is their winning campaign type. So anyway, I created a blueprint in partnership with Ezra and Molly at Smart Marketer. It's how to look at Performance Max, how to launch your first campaigns. It retails for $397. That's what Smart Marketer sells it for, but it will be totally free for you if you show up, pick up a badge, or book the hotel. It'll be free for you, so that will be worth the ticket cost and then some. But yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. Pretty excited that Ezra and Molly agreed to do it. It's my training, but it's through partnership with them, and so yeah, it should be a great bonus.
Sweet. Yeah. Thank you. All right, Brett. So I know you're a busy guy. You've got all these employees to manage, kids, all that sort of stuff. So I appreciate you taking time to do this.
Yeah. Thanks for the invite, Matt. Tons of fun, and looking forward to seeing you in Austin.